Take it off. That's all that's coming off. That's it for now. Well, other than this. You know, I'm one of those folks who actually does not mind. Oh, yes, I am Richard Sanders, not Gail Rasmussen. I'm one of those folks who does not mind paying taxes. I welcome paying taxes for great public schools, for the human services that take care of our elderly, our children, that clean the water, that clean the air, that build the roads, that create great communities. I don't mind paying taxes. In fact, I'd pay more taxes. I'd be happy living in Germany where they pay more taxes, but they have worker councils at workplaces, where workers make more money, where there's child care, there's parent allowances for a year when you have a new child. I'd be glad to pay more taxes for those kinds of things. But I gotta tell you, I don't want to keep paying taxes. I don't want to keep paying taxes for wars without end that put our children at risk, that make our country less secure than it was before. Well, some of you may recall that Fannie Lou Hamer, who burst on the scene with the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party at the Atlantic City Convention of the Democratic Party in 1964, was known for saying, "I am sick and tired." Well, like Sister Fannie Lou Hamer, I am sick and tired. I am sick and tired of living in the country known as Richistan. Now, Richistan is not Richard Sanders' Stan. It is Richistan, where unemployment in this state, for example, is still over 10%. In this country is 9% and doesn't come near to really measuring unemployment. Where when people lose their jobs, if they're lucky enough to get another job, and really only about a quarter of folks are lucky enough to find a job, 5 people are struggling for each job that's open. When people find jobs, they make much less than they ever made before. They'll never make as much again. And if they're lucky to get benefits, they will be among the select few to get benefits. I am sick and tired of living in Richistan, where teachers, starting teachers in 1970, I'm an old guy, so 1970 doesn't seem that long ago to me, but I don't think it's that long ago. In New York City, when teachers started in New York City in 1970, the starting teacher made $2,000 less than a starting attorney on Wall Street. Today, a starting attorney on Wall Street makes $115,000 more than a starting teacher in New York City. I am sick and tired of living in a country where corporate profits are the highest ever and corporate income tax revenues have fallen to the lowest level in 30 to 40 years in this country. They have declined corporate income taxes by 23% since 2000. Makes me sick. I am sick and tired of the rain, by the way, as well. People know the governor of New Jersey? Chris Christie, who just loves teachers. He hates teachers' unions, but he loves teachers. Chris Christie kind of gets it. Chris Christie thought, here's what we need to do. Let's roll back the millionaire's tax and cut education funding by $1 billion. That's Richistan. Chris Christie style, New Jersey style. I'm just tired of this nonsense. I'm sick and tired of this nonsense where they keep saying that cutting taxes on the rich will create jobs, that cutting corporate taxes will create jobs, that cuts in wages and benefits, your wages and benefits, will create jobs, that unions and regulations kill jobs. I'm sick and tired of that. I'm sick and tired of living in the place that I call Gatesland, Bill Gates. Bill Gates was heard to say, he was quoted, this is a quote, "You can't fund school reform without money, and there is no more money." All right. Now, of course, except, of course, for Bill and Melinda and Warren Buffett and all these other folks. There's no more money for us, I suppose, but they got a lot, and that may be the problem, actually, because right now in Gatesland, Bill and Melinda and their minions, and they are growing by the thousands, they can buy a lot of people to do research in Bill Gates land, or just Gates land, because Melinda's his partner in this stuff. They got enough money to decide what education should look like, and they are doing their damnedest to prove it. They can write the checks, they can set the agenda. Everybody know who Eli Broad is? Eli Broad, he's another one of these guys. He doesn't have as much money as Bill and Melinda, who now had their money added to by Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, right? Right. Who's the Buffett? Who's this? Jimmy Buffett, not Jimmy Buffett. Well, Eli Broad has created this thing called the Superintendent's Academy. They pay the tuition and travel costs for all these business executives who they want to become school superintendents. You know, if you can run a business, you can run a school. If you can run a business, you can teach students in Roosevelt High School in Portland, Oregon. Of course you can. Just walk right in and do it. Remember, you don't need experience, you don't need education. You can just walk in and teach. And you and I could just walk in and run Microsoft. In US schools, where poverty was less than 10% of the student body, those schools ranked first in the world in reading and science and third in math. Poverty doesn't matter. In those schools where poverty is between 10 and 25%, those US schools were first in the world in science and math. Remember, but poverty doesn't matter in Gatesland and Broadland. In Finland, which is always held up as a great example of what education could be, and apart from the fact that they respect their educators, they trust each other. I won't get into what's great about Finland. They have a 5% child poverty rate. In the US, it's 20%. Poverty doesn't matter. I'm sick and tired already, not just of the rain in Oregon. But after 3 months, I'm sick and tired of a school budget of $5.7 billion where legislators say that's the best they can do. Makes me sick. I'm sick and tired of their passivity in the face of a $1.2 billion gap between current service levels and that $5.7 billion. I'm even sicker about this QEM, which is an amazing thing. Give Kitzhaber credit. When he was governor the last time, this is an amazing thing. And all the folks who work every year on QEM, but it makes me sick with the $3.2 billion gap between QEM, which everyone knows is what it would take to fund quality education in the state, and $5.7 billion. And the games they're playing with $100 million that would protect 1,000+ educator jobs and a week of school in Oregon. That's sickening. I'm sick and tired of elected officials who say they're for great schools, moving to Oregon to the head of the class. 3 months, I'm sick of it. And will not seriously address revenue. Here's what I think. If you're not going to talk about revenue, and I'm on this investment board, if you're not going to address revenue, and for those of you who have sensitive ears, let me see if I can control myself. If you're not going to talk about revenue, this talk about great schools is all bull. There's plenty of wealth in America. It's just not being distributed now in the way it should be and the way it was. But Fannie Lou Hamer wasn't just sick and tired. She said she was sick and tired of being sick and tired. What that meant is that Fannie Lou Hamer understood it's time to organize. Whether it was Joe Hill, don't mourn and organize, don't whine, don't organize, whether it was Mother Jones, educate, agitate, and organize, Fannie Lou Hamer should be an inspiration to all of us, and every person who isn't as well known as Fannie Lou Hamer is should be an inspiration to all of us. Every one of our members who goes out and works should be an inspiration to all of us, because besides being sick and tired, I'm inspired. I'm inspired by what's gone on in Wisconsin, Ohio, Idaho, all those places where people are fighting back. In Egypt and Tunisia, I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired by groups like Jaws with Justice. I'm inspired by the Congressional Progressive Caucus that actually put out a budget called the People's Budget, which is pretty damn good. We hear about the Republican budget. We get the president's budget, which frankly is the best thing he's done in quite some time. I'm serious, it's not that bad, but it sure ain't that good either. But we got a people's budget that actually is focused on doing it the way that the population wants. I'm inspired by the fact that the American public, in poll after poll, do not support union busting. They do not support cuts in education. They do not support cuts in really important public programs. They want higher taxes on corporations. They want higher taxes on millionaires. They don't want to pay more, and they shouldn't pay more because the numbers are clear that they've paid all they can and more than they should. The American public is with us, and that inspires me. And I am really inspired by things I've seen in Oregon. I am inspired by all the people I've met who are educators in Oregon, who go to work every day still determined to make magic happen. It is unbelievable the way you and your colleagues put up with it. And as you heard from Walt last night, there's a whole lot of folks who say, we're not going to just we're going to keep doing it, but we're not going to do it with a smile on our face anymore. We're going to make it clear to everybody that this can't go on any longer. But you inspire me, and you inspire lots of people with what you try to do every day. I'm inspired by the Mount Hood local that's putting up a great fight. I'm inspired by the Tigard Tualatin local and their struggle. I'm inspired by McMinnville, what McMinnville's done, and all of the rest of your locals that are fighting back at the bargaining table and reaching out into the community and making a difference in the conversation. I am inspired by that. I'm inspired by this story I heard of this little girl who was sitting down drawing a picture. A teacher comes up to her and says, well, what are you drawing? And she says, I'm drawing God. And her teacher really, very gently said, well, no one knows what God looks like. And the little girl says, but they will when I finish this picture. That little girl inspires every one of you every day. And that little girl underscores what this really interesting British education reformer, Sir Ken Robinson, says is wrong with schools. Killing creativity. That little girl's got imagination. Every one of you have students with amazing imaginations that play out in so many different ways, and you are fighting like hell to keep those imaginations alive and growing forward. And I'm inspired by that, and we can't let it go. We have the potential to be better. As Gail and Hannibal said, from good to great. This is a really, really good organization. I have been inspired by the staff of this organization. Amazing work done by everybody who works with this organization in headquarters and in offices around the state. They are amazing. But we will guarantee that as this unfolds, and certainly as we get into next fall, we will organize purposeful, intentional meetings and conversations all across the state so that every one of you and your members can be part of a conversation that helps us set a clear direction for building our power, to making sure that our ideas for how our schools should be structured and run are the ideas that dominate the public discourse and the ideas that are implemented in every school across this state and ideas that every elected official embraces because they are right. Everything is on the table. The structures that we have are on the table. The way in which we align our resources is on the table. But fundamentally, we need members to step up and take responsibility for sharing their ideas. We will do everything we can to support the unleashing of creativity and imagination, the unleashing of dreams. We want our members' dreams to become the driving force of the union. We will do the best work, as we always have, in defending wages and benefits and moving those forward. But we want the members' dreams about what a classroom looks like, what teaching looks like, what the profession looks like and feels like when you live it, to drive the union forward. Our focus should be on creating great schools and pushing aside anyone who won't welcome us to the table and anyone whose ideas are ideas that we know undermine quality teaching and education for our students. They get one chance at education. We're not going to let Broad and Gates and Stand and elected officials who don't have the balls to do the right thing to get in our way. But we need to shift as an organization. The strategic action plan will be the way that we do this. We need all of you to be part of this process. There will be so many layers to it. We will move quickly, and we will be back to you for sure next year with even more detail that we're asking you to officially endorse to represent the new direction for the organization. When Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without demand, and if there is no struggle, there is no progress, and Margaret Mead reminds us to never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change everything. It's the only thing that ever has. And when Cesar Chavez says we have a kind of power that comes from the justice of our cause, they are all right. So the question for you all is, can we dream together? Can we grow big and powerful ideas, wonderful ideas together? Yes. Can we plan and change together? Can we act together to build this righteous power? Yes. Can we change our schools, our communities, and change Oregon together? Yes. That's it. Thank you all. I'm so glad to be in Oregon.